in the previous part of the question, we had created a service. Now, so basically we had created an interface which basically will help us to fetch the service, and then we also defined our data type by which we can pass complex data type through heterogeneous system. We wrote the core logic in a separate class, and now it is time that we need to consume in a client. So what we'll do is that we'll create a ASP.NET application, and we'll consume this service, and we'll try to use this service and see that how it calculates the total cost. So let's go to a project, and let's add a ASP.NET application. So file, add new project, and let's take up ASP.NET, and let's name this as web app consumer. Okay, so that helps us to add ASP.NET client. Now we need to reference this service. At this moment, the service is running on 2465 port, and it's giving us this message. So basically we need to reference this service, and when we reference this service, it generates for us proxy clients, okay, by which you can interact with the service. So in other words, it will generate some classes at your end by which you can call the methods on the service. So you need to click on add service reference. So basically you will see in your ASP.NET project something called as a references folder, or I'll say references section. Right click on it and click on add service reference. You are also seeing this something called as add web reference, which is nothing but referring which basically helps us to reference the web services. We'll be coming to the next question, where we'll be discussing differences between web services and WCF services, because I'm sure that many people who have already worked with web services will be thinking that this is same as web service. What's so different? Because in web service also there's an XML file generated, and there's also an XML file generated here. But we'll come to the main differences in the coming question. So at this moment, just click on add service reference and click on discover. So it shows you what are the running WCF services. At this moment, we have the service to calculate total cost, calculate cost, which is running. So it has just pulled up and displayed it. Let's give a name to the namespace, calculate cost. Okay. Now what it does is it will generate for you proxy clients, by which you can call the service services, by which you can call the service methods. Okay, the calculate namespace which we had given when we reference the service reference, if you do a dot and if you see, you will see that it has basically generated a lot of client classes or proxy client classes. For example, for instance, you can see that there is a name called as service calculate cost client, which basically maps to the service calculate cost class. Then you have iService calculate cost, which basically maps to this interface, iService calculate cost. It also has the data contract, that is product data, which basically maps to your product data at the server side, called as the product data, right? So in other words, it has generated all the necessary clients by which you can reference and call up the WCF methods and properties. So what we'll do is that let's start consuming this service, and this is what the code is. Okay, so basically first thing we have taken the reference of iService calculate cost interface, right, because that's what defines the service contract. Okay, and I have created the service calculate cost client. Now this client is nothing but it's a proxy which will help me to create an object of service calculate cost, which is existing on the WCF service on the server side. Then I have created the product data object, which is basically the complex product data which I need to pass to the service, and I have given the necessary values like the product name, the product quantity, and the product cost. So basically 4 into 100, it should give me 400, right? And this product data I am passing to the get total cost operation method, right? If you remember, the service had something called as a get total cost interface to which you can pass product data, and your core business logic, what it does is it basically multiplies the product data with the product cost and returns back a string. So I have just whatever string I will get from this interface, I have just did a reference dot right here. So if we run this, basically it should show us that the product name is shirt and it will cost us is 400. So that's what it is. The total cost for the product is 400. What we can do is I'll just go and change this to, let's say, 200. So that should give me 800. So in other words, I'm able to consume the service and calculate my total cost. So that's 800, right? So that's all about WCF. That's all about consuming the WCF service. What you can do is, in order to just understand that how flexible and heterogeneous WCF service is, you can add a Windows project and try to consume this service there. So in this way, you can understand that the way we consume this service is very much same in Windows as well as ASP.NET applications. So you can understand that how standard it is to consume these services, how standard it is to consume the WCF service. So just to revise what we have done till now, so that we don't miss out anything. We first created the WCF service. We defined a service contract using the interface. We defined all the methods using the operation contract. Then we defined data contract, which basically will help us to pass in complex data types. After that, we defined our core business logic by implementing the service contract interface. We made a couple of changes in the web config file where we basically defined the service name and the contract. After that, we did a add service reference here and we referenced the services. We created the necessary objects, passing the values, and we got our service operating on the client. So in this way, these were the basic steps which we need to follow to consume the WCF service. Now there are a couple of things which we have missed out, and because this was a practical session, so I did not want to cover the theory in the first moment. For example, there are a couple of things like the ABC concept of WCF service, and the second important point is that how is this whole WCF service, this whatever technology we discussed now, we created the service, etc., how does it actually map to the SOA concept which we discussed previously? So in the coming up sessions, what we'll do is that we'll try to go through some theory, and we'll try to map like how the SOA principles will map with WCF service, how is web services different from WCF, and the ABC concept, that is address, binding, and contract, where did it actually fall in this whole WCF concept or whole WCF practical sample we did. So this sample will serve as a practical guideline to the theories which we'll discuss in the coming up question. So I hope that this question was useful, and we'll see you in the coming up question. What I will expect from you guys is that if you can download the Express edition, in case if you have bought the DVD, then you will get the Express edition free in the DVD itself. If you can download the Express edition, and if you can create a WCF service by itself, then you can get the actual feeling of how you can use WCF services. Because till then, probably just viewing the video, it's just understanding the theory.